Welcome, everybody. It's good to have you. All right. Hi, everyone. I'll do a quick introduction while people are finding their seats and coming in. I wanted to take a moment to thank everyone for joining us in this RoberCon pop-up event. Since we can't meet for our annual weekend extravaganza this September, which I actually just realized would have been this upcoming weekend, very sad. The RoberCon team and the Roberson Museum and Science Center will be working to create more meetup events like this. We're planning, hoping, fingers crossed, for some in-person ones, but right now we're sticking to Zoom. RoberCon is located in beautiful Binghamton, New York, which is rather feeling the nice crisp fall weather, which is also located on the ancestral land of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and more specifically the Onondaga Nation, whom we recognize them as the past, present, and future stewards of this land. So for today's RoberCon pop-up event, we're absolutely excited to get into kind of like the spirit of the season, if you will, with Binghamton's very own Empirical Paranormal joining us to discuss their methods, mysteries, and investigations. So please feel free to type any questions you have in the chat. We'd love to hear them. And with that, I will fade into the mist and pass off the conversation to them.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gina. I'm the director from Empirical Paranormal. I would like to introduce Dominic and Donald. Go ahead, say hi.
Go ahead, Donald.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I am the director and lead investigator, Dominic.
I'm a researcher, lead investigator, and technology specialist.
And Donald?
I am a lead investigator.
All right. So we're going to go into a little bit about what we do. We investigate many places throughout New York State and upper Pennsylvania. We've been to many different places, many very interesting places. We have done the Parkview Inn in Owego, New York. And we've done, let's see, help me out, guys, a little bit. We've done the Fainted Goat Island Inn. We've done the Bundy Museum. We have done
Phelps.
We're going to be doing the Phelps.
Coming up. The YWCA.
And with the YWCA, yeah. So anyways, what we do is we will go into people's personal homes. They will call us if they have an issue with a paranormal situation. They'll give us a call and we'll go in and investigate. And we've also investigated a lot of businesses. We've investigated cemeteries. So what we do, we go in and we do a sweep, and which a sweep is where we check out to see if there's any EMF or different things, such as, help me out guys a little bit here. Like we get the stories of what happens and we get the hot spots and things like that. We've been into many interesting places where we've run into things that were not paranormal, that were not so great. We've crawled into dirt. We ran into mold and just things are dilapidated, like stairs being dilapidated. It almost feels like you're walking forward, going down the stairs. Just holes in the floors, just different things.
It's funny how real life stuff is a lot scarier than the paranormal in a lot of ways.
Than paranormal, I agree. Yep.
Yeah. More life things are definitely more scarier.
It's a hazardous job.
And people too.
Yeah.
We've investigated where one of us is like in a hallway and another one would come around the corner and we would scare each other.
Yep.
And it happens. So, but yeah, We recently done an investigation at the YWCA, where, there was places in there where in the basement that was very heavy and very, very dark and dismal, and you would feel like heavy and get like the whirling sensation, and it wasn't very a good feeling at all, like places like that.
I spent 2.5 hours down there by myself, and it was a miserable time, very miserable. The whole time I felt like I was being watched. I was very anxious. Felt like something kept playing games with me. It wanted me to go to other parts of the basement just for it to show back up right where I was. And I was having weird radio issues down there. And it was a rough time. It was a very, very rough 2.5 hours.
Yeah. And every time, like we would think that Dominic was walkie-talkieing us, and he wasn't. It was playing with our walkie-talkies, whatever was there. And he got the same exact thing. And just the connection was really, really off the wall. So, yeah. And when we were there also, there was a room that was really, really heavy and just dark, even on the 3rd floor. It was one of the offices. And it was something else. One of our team members actually was getting dizzy by the door and felt like he was going to pass out. He had to actually leave at one point and then come back. And then another team member felt the same way. And as soon as I walked into that room, I felt the same way. I felt like I was going to pass out. I had the whirling. And then I felt like something was definitely dark and dismal there. So, and then when we went down the basement, he showed us a place, because he works there, and he showed us a place where he didn't like to go. And when he took us down there, he actually had to leave where we were. We were like, what happened? What happened to Phil? He just like disappeared. So one of us went to check on him, and he said he basically had to leave from down there because it was just really heavy and dark. And he felt like that before when he works down there in that basement. So, and there was supposed to be a man that was down there that I picked up on. He was tall and dark hair. He had like bibs on, and it was basically everybody's felt that down there, and things have been moved down there. There was a screwdriver, Dominic, that was thrown across the room.
Yeah, while he was sitting at his desk, it went right across his desk, right across the front of it, which I tried to recreate. And I thought I got movement. I brought one of my own screwdrivers, and I think the screwdriver did move. It didn't get thrown across the room, but I was watching it on one of our surveillance cameras, and I'm pretty sure it moved at least a solid 3 inches across the folder I had it sitting on. Like I swear on my life it did.
Yeah, and then a doll showed up.
A stuffed teddy, like a teddy bear. Yeah, it just showed up on the floor, and I had been in and out of that room all night, and there was no teddy bear in that room at all. It didn't exist in that room until it showed up on the floor.
Yeah, and he also said some of his tools were missing all the time. It would be moved from one end of the basement to the other, and they would just pop up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And also there was a rocking chair that rocked by itself. So we set up. Dominic actually set something up, right, Dom, for that?
No, I just had a camera on it. Joe put his Eddie box on it, and I put an EMF detector on it later on in the night.
Yeah, and then you said there was something going on with it, right, the Eddie?
Yeah, I was getting like the weirdest temperature changes throughout the night. It would drop like 3 or 4 degrees around the chair. And at one point, I'm pretty sure that temperature reading was something interacting with the chair. And I left the room, and I thought I heard something in the room that the chair was in where we had our base camp. And I ran back in there. And as soon as I ran back in there, the the Eddy box has a temperature sensor on it, and it'll also let you know when there's dramatic changes in temperature, whether it's dropping or going up. And the minute I walked back in that room, the temperature going up light, the warning light on it, turned on, and the temperature jumped 2 degrees. And I was like, oh, did I like scare something away from that chair? Like, what just happened? And I did have a camera on the chair all night, so I'm curious to see when I go back through that if something shows up around that chair at all. But I'm pretty sure I scared something away from that chair, because I came back in that room in a hurry because I heard something, and I really wanted to catch the chair moving, because it was rumored that the chair would rock by itself.
And the EMFs were pretty high, spiked pretty high in some of the areas in that room too. So
not just some areas, that whole basement.
Yeah.
If you read it with the right EMF detector, that whole basement was basically one big box of EMF.
Yeah. And then up in the conference room, we've had a lot of stuff. We got up there. We did the Etsy experiment where I'm blindfolded and I cannot hear anything that's being said. All I can hear is what's on the ghost box. And I respond to what I hear on the ghost box. I don't hear the questions. And when we were there, everyone was telling me like my whole demeanor changed. I was channeling while we were doing this.
Yeah.
And my whole demeanor, my face changed. The way I carried my body and the movements I had, and even the way my tone of my voice was.
Yeah.
Dominic could probably tell you a little bit about that too.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you definitely did. Like, I've known you for 30 years, and the way you were acting in that room in the half hour, 40 minutes that we were doing that experiment, you acted in a way that I've never seen you act ever in my whole life. And you were in and out of like 3 different personalities, and it was really, really bizarre to watch. You were really joking around one minute and being all like catty and stuff the next, and then you would just get really like aggressive, really, really aggressive at one point, and then you would get catty again. It was like you were just like jumping between personalities. It was very, very strange. And
we got the name Frank. So the Frank character was the one that was like really...
We believe that was the maintenance guy.
Yeah, and he was the one that was really like catty and...
No, he was the aggressive one.
The aggressive one, yeah.
He was the very aggressive and angry one. The catty one was the woman.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so we did that. We got a lot of stuff up there. And then most recently, we did an investigation up in Auburn, New York. These guys weren't on the investigation, but I was, and we're up at the Chase Manor in Auburn, New York. And boy, that place, we had experience after experience after experience. And we actually got an apparition on camera on our live feed. And and then Joe, he's another team member. I had to make him leave out of this one room. There was a closet in it, and apparently somebody was murdered in this room or in the house. And the person murdered the wife, and he made it look like a suicide. He like hung her inside the closet to make it look like a suicide. And then he went and killed his 2 children out in the barn. So when Joe went in that closet, actually, let me go back. He was sitting down on the floor, and we came in, and he goes, I feel like I'm being choked. I can't breathe. Like I'm getting a heavy choking feeling. So I said, okay, if you need to leave, just, get up and go. And he's like, no, I'm okay. So we're sitting there and we're continuing the investigation, asking questions. And then he gets up and walks over and goes into the closet and was like trying to see if he could feel something or hear something like a voice or anything. So he sat down on the bench in there, and I got to tell you, I've investigated with Joe since 2015, and I know him very well. And his demeanor changed big time. And he became very emotional and overwhelmed. And he said he felt like something was taking him over. And I made him leave the house to go outside. And we ended up taking a break. And while we're sitting outside talking, I'm sitting on a chair on the front porch. And all of a sudden I'm feeling like pinching or a burning sensation on my shoulder. So I lifted up my shirt and asked Patty, another team member, to look at my back. And there was a scratch there. There was 2 scratches down on my shoulder. So we took a picture of it. And so we have that as evidence. But yeah, it was a really crazy place. And it's like we kept hearing footsteps coming down the hallway or up the stairs if we were in the 1 bedroom. And we kept hearing things moving. And I was listening to some of the EVPs last night, and I gotta tell you, I had an EVP that I was just shocked to hear. And I made Dominic hear it. It said, "I will kill you."
Yeah.
And then it said it again, "I'll kill you" later on. And then it was like crazy. So yeah, this place, we're going to go back up there though, because it's such a big place. We didn't even get off the 2nd floor. There was so much going on the 2nd floor, and we did a little bit on the 1st floor. And so I was telling me and Joe and Patty were all telling the rest of the team members about this place. And we're going to go back up there again. And we're going to continue finishing investigating the barn and the rest, of the house. So yeah, and we'll be going live again with that, like we always do with a lot of our investigations. So you'll be able to see it. We've also did an investigation at the Faint and Goat Island Inn back in November 11th. It was last year.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things that happened there too. In fact, as a matter of fact, we're going to be doing the Faint and Goat Island Inn next Saturday for the world's largest ghost hunt. I'll get more into that after a while, but we investigated there. If Donald and Dominic remember, we had a lot happen in the front room where our base camp was.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
At one point we were doing an EVP session with the ghost box, and we had a lot of cameras because we're going live. Chrissy from Where Is Chrissy Today joined us for this investigation. So she had her camera going and we had ours going, and it was messing with our cameras. It was it drained the batteries of the ghost box.
It completely nuked our old camera system.
Yeah,
it did.
It really, it destroyed our old camera system. What else? There was batteries drained from, was it Donald, yours?
Yes, my recorder. The batteries from my not only from my recorder but from my flashlight as well.
Yeah.
So
and
you had all the batteries, the fresh new batteries in the equipment box too that were dead, remember?
Yeah.
Yep.
They killed like a whole pack of AA's or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I noticed that mine was my batteries were getting really low or dying, I went to the equipment box to replace them, and all of them in the equipment box were not working.
Yeah.
Well, they were all drained.
Yeah. And also we have a backup battery packs that we have, and those were pretty much drained.
Oh yeah. Mine usually lasts like hours, and it was gone in a matter of like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also on the stairwell, there's a doll, a creepy doll that's set up on a chair. And it was believed to move its head, its eyes, and its body. So we set up a camera on that, and we did an EVP session the stairwell. And actually, while we were live, people were saying that the eyes were moving, opening and closing and moving.
Yep.
And so when we went back and looked at it, we're like, yeah, you know, the eyes really were moving.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'd watch you go up the stairs, and
yeah.
It was creepy. It was really creepy.
Yeah. And then we were also in one room. It was Dominic, me, and Chrissy. And I said to Dominic, well, I forgot the ghost box. You know, could you go down and get Joe and have him bring up the ghost box? And while Dominic and me and Chrissy were talking, we didn't hear it audibly, but when I went back and listened to the EVPs, there was this loud scream, a woman screaming. Yep. I was like, when I heard that on the EVP, I went, oh my God.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, and then there was another room. I can't remember exactly what room it was, but I set up some marbles, and then we put Joe's Eddie there. And we were live, and we were telling, there's a little ghost boy that is there, and we were telling him to go ahead and play with the marbles. And while we were doing our EVP session, I kept like looking over, and then the Eddie went off, and I saw the light. So I looked at the marbles, and the marbles were moving. And then we got that on our live feed too. Remember that, guys?
Yep.
Yeah. And then there was one time where Donald, remember when you went to the restroom?
Oh, yeah.
You left to go to the restroom. And then we heard a whistle.
Yep.
Because you went downstairs.
Yes.
And we heard a whistle. And Dominic, remember you went out to the hallway to go see if it was one of them, right? And then what? There was nobody there?
There's nobody there.
Do you remember that, Dom?
So I missed it. I had to get the cats off the window.
Oh. Remember when Donald went to the bathroom and we heard the whistle in the hallway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that was crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was really crazy. And then I didn't go up to the attic because I could not go up the attic stairs because they were wonky. So it was Dominic, Donald, and Chrissy. So you guys could tell a little bit about that.
I know we heard music while we were up there.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we heard like somebody was playing something off of like a phonograph or a record player or something coming from down where you guys were. But nobody down there was playing anything. You guys were just sitting down there. And I remember there was a particularly creepy corner in that attic.
Corner, yes.
Because it was kind of like the attic was done in a way that like there was an area in the middle that had like a floor and support pillars for the roof, and then it was insulation around the whole outside of it.
Yep.
And in the corner, just when you got up the weird ladder stairs, like if you look directly across to the right, there was like this ominous dark corner that just seemed like it had less light than the rest of the attic did. Like light just ceased to exist there, and it was very, very like heavy feeling in that corner, and very just oppressive, very, very oppressive.
Yep. I didn't like that corner.
I didn't either. I didn't like that attic either because it had a ton of dolls up in it. It was creepy.
Yeah, it was. This is very creepy with that.
But didn't you guys hear a voice up there too, Dom, or something?
No, I think we just heard the music.
Orbs.
Yeah, there was a lot of orbs, and I think we just heard the music. That was it.
Yeah, we didn't hear a voice. We just had the music and the orbs.
Yeah, in fact, as a matter of fact, the owners were watching us as we were live, and they were like, oh my God, there was like a blue orb that kept moving around. There was a bunch of orbs.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. And supposedly there was supposed to be a growl up there. It didn't like men. So that's why we sent the men up.
And boy, that was a fun time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I can get up those stairs. I just can't get down them, man.
Yeah. And I gotta say that was an interesting investigation, and that's why we're going back there next weekend, next Saturday, and we got a lot of stuff there. So, is there anything I forgot about there, you guys?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not that I can recall, no.
I just remember getting a lot of activity. That's about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like another investigation that these guys didn't go on, but I did. We did the park view. Well, at the time, Dominic, he broke his foot, so he was out, for a little while. Yeah. And Donald's back in school, so he had some classes going on. But we did the park view in Owego, and it was me, Patty, and Joe. And we had a lot of experiences. Oh, actually, it was me, Patty, and Joe, and there's another team that we did a Pairing Unity with, Jerry and Denny from the team Ginny. They're based out of Elmira, Horseheads area. So we met up and we did the investigation there, and we had a lot of experiences at the park we went. We had a lot of good EVPs there. We were touched in the basement. It was part of the Underground Railroad, so we went down the basement and we got a lot of good EVPs from some of the slaves that were hidden down there. And we also got a lot of good EVPs from the original owners of the building. But yeah, we were touched. We just had weird things happen. I had the whirling sensation, and I felt like there was definitely something there in that building for sure. And yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, we'd like to go back there again sometime in the very near future. I see that we have 4 people on chat. Does anybody have any the questions down there?
There's one.
Okay.
Nat asked, what do you do to prepare for investigations? Is there a way to tell if you might be going into a hostile ghost situation?
How we prepare is we make sure our equipment is all charged and all the batteries are new and that everything is working. Mm-hmm. And then we go in and we do a sweep, which is we take our EMF detectors and we go through and make sure there's not a lot of high EMF there. Because sometimes when there's high EMF, it creates a cage. And Dominic could explain that a little bit more, what it does to you when there is a cage.
Well, high levels of EMF are naturally sort of, well, to be frank, it's bad for your health. Electromagnetic fields in a high level can cause like feelings of nausea, of anxiety, paranoia. It's almost like getting like a small radiation poisoning that only lasts for as long as you're in it. And it can drain your energy. It can make you feel extremely lethargic. It could play with your senses, with your head, with your body, make you feel like you're getting sick. It could do all kinds of nasty stuff to you. And that's why we test for it when we go into an investigation, because a lot of the times, especially if it's an old house, like wiring wasn't shielded 100 years ago. So all the wiring in the walls is just giving off EMF, and the house sort of acts as a natural sponge for it. It kind of keeps it all wrapped up inside the house. So if you exist in the house for a long period of time, you're going to be subjected to that. And a lot of the times the paranormal stuff that people say they're experiencing is just electromagnetic radiation poisoning, essentially. So we test for the hot spots of the house, and it's something that we are like, okay, this explains why you're feeling that in this room. This explains why you're feeling that in that room. Now you know what to do about it. Call an electrician, have the wiring changed, or, if you feel those feelings in that room, you know what it is. And if we find a place that has some EMF hotspots, but the activity isn't localized to those areas, then we know that it's something that we have to look into a lot further. It just sort of helps us kind of weed out probable causes for things, because ultimately our goal is to test everything that we possibly can, science for the sake of science.
Yeah, and we do a lot of debunking too. So, and that goes along with that pretty much. Yeah. And next question.
That's the only question so far.
Yep.
Oh, the other half of it though was, is there a way to tell if we might be going into a hostile ghost situation?
Well, I'm a empath and I'm also a medium. Sometimes I might feel something beforehand. On my way to investigations, I get like a dry mouth, and I could just feel when things are not right. And a lot of times when I walk right into a place, I could tell right away when there's something not right there, or it's just, I get the whirling, I get, sometimes I'll get nauseous, heavy feeling. And Dominic, he's an empath too, and he has abilities and he feels that too.
Yep. And a lot of the time when you're walking into an investigation, you could tell as soon as you go through the door what kind of night you're going to have. Yeah. Like you could walk in and then, because we usually do like an initial walkthrough before we set up. And if we walk into a place and we feel like something ain't good, you know, while we're going through our process of setting up, we'll prepare ourselves. You know, you kind of just, you know, you put your shields up, you know, you get ready for whatever might be there. But the problem is that you can't always know if something is going to be bad, because a lot of spirits are good liars. They're very, very good liars.
Yes.
And they can make even the most advanced and trained empaths, you know, believe that it's something totally benign. And then halfway through the night, people are getting, you know, scratched. They're getting yelled at by the spirits. They're getting pushed. Things are going flying across the room. It could be bad. It could be bad, but you can never really fully know. You kind of just have to go into every investigation assuming something bad is going to be there. And if it isn't, you're fine.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Yeah.
No?
No.
No, I don't see any.
Okay, so we've been to a lot of buildings in the Broome County area. We've been to a lot of businesses, homes, and different things. In this area, it's very, very haunted, especially downtown Binghamton. We've investigated the Galaxy Brewing Company a couple years back. We investigated 205 Dry. That's haunted. We investigated the Bundy Museum several times. We've done that many a times. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, there's many layers to Broome County and Binghamton area, because, you know, it goes so far back. I mean, first you got the Native Americans, and then you got us that came in and took over the area and, you know, built over their burial grounds and where they lived. So, yeah, this place is very haunted, this area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. Let's see, another investigation. Oh, we can go to the Bundy. The Bundy Museum, we've investigated several times. And whenever we go there, we never leave without anything happening, or, you know, we have EVPs all the time. We always have something that moves there or communicates with us. Gosh, when you go in there, you go into the smoking room and you could smell the cherry tobacco.
Yeah.
When you walk in there. And we've left a cigar, and we've left also some whiskey for the Bundy. And also when we were in that room, there was a time where we were hearing footsteps upstairs, and Dominic went upstairs and go see what was up there, and nobody was there. He came back down. We heard it again, right, Dom? Mm-hmm. And you went back up there again, and there was nobody there. Several times that happened.
Yeah.
So we've had that happen there. We've had EVPs from a little girl that has been there. We had EVPs from Harlow, and we've been touched there. Mm-hmm. We've had things move. There was one time we were doing a tour at the Bundy a few years back. We were doing tours, and Donald set his recorder.
My recorder got.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep, because they're in that little room off of the master bedroom, and there was like a table there, and I set my recorder right in the middle of that table, and Dominic and I heard a sound. We weren't sure what it was, so we went back into that room, and my recorder actually moved from the middle of the table to the end of the table.
Yep.
So yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah. And there was one time where we were doing an investigation in that main bedroom there, the master bedroom, and I heard a little girl scream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I got that on EVP. Yep. And at one time too, we were in the basement, and we asked little girl, "Are you here?" And she said, "I'm not feeling well."
Yep.
We got that on EVP. And in fact, it was also on a camera. A friend of ours came in and did a recording of us on camera, and he also got that on audio. So, but yeah.
Sometimes what will happen, and this happened to me at the Bundy, when you're doing an investigation, things will follow you home. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I had something follow me home from the Bundy. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't bad. I felt it wasn't bad. Wasn't malicious. It just wanted to go out of there and follow me home.
Yep.
And sometimes it happens.
Yeah, we had to clear them.
Yeah.
And about a year ago, we had to do a clearing up in the one room where there's it's a replica of a house. Everybody calls it a dollhouse. It's not really a dollhouse. It's a replica of a person's home, a local home here. And they donated it to the museum. Anyways, Debbie, who was on our team, she went into that room and just happened to feel something in that closet. And she opened it up, and there was something definitely in that closet. And then, so she closed the closet door, and we walked in, and she told me, "Open that door and tell me what you feel." I opened the door, and oh my God, just the heaviness and the feeling I got from that closet, mm-hmm. It was horrible. Yep. And so we ended up doing this clearing. We cleared out a spirit in that room. It took us for a while, and Donald and another investigator, Will, those two had to leave. Mm-hmm. Because it was affecting them. I don't know if you remember, Donald.
Oh yeah, I remember, because the second you opened that door, it started affecting me, and that's when I told you I got to leave. I can't stay in this room.
Yeah,
that's the second that you open that door, and we go with the old adage: when in doubt, get out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And didn't you say Will was, when you were down there? Will, it started to do something to him. He was he pacing back and forth or something?
He was pacing back and forth downstairs.
Yeah.
He could not relax. He couldn't relax.
Yeah. So yeah. So it took me and Debbie and Joe a while to clear out what was there, because we get people in there and they open portals and they don't close them. and they're messing with something that they really shouldn't mess with if you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
It's not a good thing to mess with stuff like that. If you're gonna, open a portal, it's the wrong thing to do.
Yep.
Just like playing with Ouija boards, we don't believe in doing that. I mean, that's opening a portal. And if you don't know how to close out on that, you don't know what you're getting that's going to come through that board. Same with a portal.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can get some really nasty entities that come through. And then they, like Dominic said earlier, there's like spirits and entities that will say, oh, I'm a little girl, and or you might hear a baby crying or something like that. And it's really not what you think it is. They can mess with you. They can really mess with your mind.
Negative entities have a really good way of disguising themselves as things that you want to make a connection with, because they want you to open themselves up to it. And when you do, it's taking the bait, and that's when they move in, and it's very difficult to get rid of them once they've moved in.
Right.
Yeah. So this entity, it stayed in the closet, and then it moved to the chair by the bed. And then I saw it move into the doll that was on the dresser. And a lot of times what spirits and entities do, they'll go into a doll.
Yep.
And, just like I'm sure everybody here has heard about Annabelle, that's a big thing. And spirits do that.
They crave the human analog because they remember when they were human, when they were alive. And it must be just something that they know they can possess it without it, causing anyone harm, depending on what it is.
Yeah. And we also cleared out another spirit downstairs in the smoking room area, in the dining room area, that it wasn't a good thing. Yep. So we it took us a while that night to clear out stuff, but we got it done and everything's good. So hopefully we don't have any more issues where we have to go back there and clear things out again. Yeah. So, but yeah. So yeah, is there any more questions?
Nope.
Okay. I don't see any.
Feel free, anybody, if you have any questions, please ask. So Dom, do you have any, remember, maybe we could talk about Elmira.
Oh, Elmira. Oh,
the Elmira one.
Elmira. Oh, yeah.
So there's this place in Elmira. It's two houses that are connected together. They're actually like, they were separated at one time and they connected them together. It used to be a home for the Civil War families, the women and children, after, their husband got killed in the war, deceased, or so they would live there. They would put them in their home. And then at one time it was an orphanage. And then later on it ended up being the old folks home. And so there's many layers and many years of layers to this place. And this house, these houses together, they had a personality of its own. The first investigation that me, Debbie, and Joe and Dominic went on, I remember Joe and Dominic was on one of the houses, and we're on the other half of the place, which was the other house.
Yep.
And then Joe when you guys couldn't find the room, the house. Well, let me go back. Half of the house was a haunted house they made for Halloween in this house that's haunted. So
the irony.
Yeah. So go ahead, Dom, and tell your story about you and Joe on that side of the house.
Okay. Well, to start off, I have pretty good object permanence. Like, I'm really good at mazes. I'm really good at finding my way through like weird convoluted stuff like that. So like I knew all night where we were going throughout this house. Like I would recognize landmarks and stuff like that and be like, all right, we got to go this way, just trying to get back to this elevator that was in the middle of the house that would take us up to where we needed to go. Me and our other investigator, Joe, we had decided to go pretty far into the house to do some investigating in a part of it that we hadn't been through before. And we remembered the hallway we were in from the walkthrough we did, and being back and forth a few times throughout the night with other people. And I knew it was getting late. I knew that we were getting a little tired, but we still knew where we were going. And we decided, all right, let's go back and take a break. And then I think you wanted to go up to the attics or something like that. I don't remember, but you wanted us back at the base camp for something. So we're on our way back, and I realized that we've doubled around to the same hallway like 3 times. And I'm like, Joe, this is where we just were. Like, we've been here. And he was like, yeah, I don't understand. I'm like, let's try going another way. So we went through this part of the haunted house where the walls are on hinges and they kind of like sway back and forth. And we went through that area, and we went down another hallway and went up a pair of stairs. And somehow we ended up back in that same freaking hallway. After it basically like took us out and then put us right back in somehow. It was very, very bizarre. And so we're like, all right, let's go down to the front, and then we'll go up the other staircase. And the other side of the house was like a bed and breakfast, right?
They were gonna build it into a bed.
They were gonna build it into a bed and breakfast, yeah. So we thought if we went over to that side, maybe we could find our way over to the elevator, because there was like a hallway and then another hallway, and the elevator was right there. It was very simple. Couldn't even find our way to the foyer where like the 2 staircases came together. So I look at Joe and I'm like, Joe, I think this house is trying to keep us in this particular part of the house. There's something not right here. We keep going down all these other hallways, going up these staircases, going places that should take us away from this part of the house. And we end up right back here. This isn't right. So he's like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, we should just have to go back through the area where the walls wobble, go up a staircase, go across the house, and go back down, and the elevator should be there. So he's like, okay. So we go back through the wobbly walls, go up the staircase, go down the hallway, go down the flight of stairs, and we're back at the wobbly walls. And this happened for like a solid like 20 minutes. And finally I was like, okay, the house is definitely effing with us. We need to do something. So we split up for a second, and finally Joe said he found it. And I was like, what do you mean you found it? So I worked my way back to him, and lo and behold, the staircase that we needed to go up and down led right to the elevator. It was there. It was finally there. And it was so frustrating. And I looked back up the staircase and I'm like, something in this house was trying to keep us in that part of the house. I'm telling you, the house was like changing on us. It was like the staircase in Harry Potter at Hogwarts that turns all over the place and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, that wasn't right. We definitely should have been able to find our way back to this elevator a lot sooner. I'm like, yeah, it's not even that far away from where we were. And later on that night, we went back and walked through that area to see if maybe we were just stupid or something. And no, we found our way right back to where we needed to go almost immediately. So we assumed the house was definitely trying to trick us, and it was changing to keep us in that part of the house for some reason, and we don't know why. We tried asking questions. We tried seeing if maybe something in the house wanted us there or was trying to mess with us, and nothing ever told us why, but it was definitely the house for sure.
And there was another time too when 3 of us only went. For some reason, that house kept people away, and I was the only one that investigated that place the most. And for some reason, it made Dominic sick one time, and made Debbie not go, and it made other people not go. So the one night there was 3 of us that went. And as soon as we like walked into the place, before we even started investigating, we were hearing voices downstairs. And then it made all 3 of us sick. Like when we walked into the house, all 3 of us got sick that night. And then later on, when we investigated this place, it was all night long. So it was a lockdown. So the 3 of us decided, we're going to lay down for a while. And about 5:30 in the morning, a door slammed. And oh my God, I jumped. I was like, oh my gosh, because I was trying to get a little shut eye. And Will, who was like, he was still awake, he couldn't sleep. He actually saw the door slammed shut. And this house, it's like it's got its own personality. And that same night too, it drained a whole brand new pack of brand new batteries that we bought. $25 worth of batteries that we bought completely exploded, and they were like oozing with stuff. And we're like, and that was just from being there that night. And it just affected a little bit of our equipment. Yeah. And then there was another time when a bunch of us went, and we set up a ball on a chair, and we set up a camera facing it.
Oh, and it killed the camera.
Yeah. And it
my camera.
Yep.
Yeah, it completely killed the camera. And the ball, Dominic and Joe set it up on a chair in a hallway.
It was like on the edge, but not enough that it could like fall off on its own. You definitely would have to like, tap it or something.
Yeah, it was one of those balls that laid up, when we hit them.
And we were hoping in the dark it would get, picked up on.
Yeah. But yeah, it knocked about the chair a couple times that night.
Mm-hmm.
We
had no idea that the camera wasn't recording until the first time it got knocked off.
Yeah.
The experience I had when I was there, when I did the overnight, other than hearing voices and such, is that, first of all, the later it gets on into the night is when the house changes more.
Yes.
Yeah.
The later on it gets, the house changes. And I was trying to get some shut eye like Gina was, and I was sitting in a chair with a table over here. I kind of had my arm like this, and there was another chair in front of me that I put my feet on, and that's how I fell asleep. But in the morning, I ended up waking up on the floor.
Yep.
And I have absolutely no idea how I got from those chairs to the floor. No clue. Dominic, I don't know, you can, I can't remember it. If you want to explain maybe how I ended up on the floor. I know you
We have no idea.
My memory is really foggy. It was really late in the night. I know that because me and Joe were up all night. All I remember is you getting up, you said some kind of wizardry to me. I don't know what it was. You said something, and I was like, okay. And then you walked into the room, you changed it. Didn't he do that? Didn't he go into the room he changed in? That was behind us. I think you were sleeping, Mom.
I was sleeping.
Yeah. It was, I believe you got up off the chair. You woke up and went into the other room for a minute, said you were going to get something, but you came back with nothing. And then you looked at the chair you were in and then just lay down on the ground like flat out. It was, I thought you were sleepwalking.
I never sleepwalked before. I have no memory of it.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird because even Joe was like, what? Like, it was weird.
And there was another time when Debbie and I were coming down the main stairs in the one part of the house where they wanted to do the bed and breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And first she went down the stairs, and then I was coming slower behind her. And I heard footsteps coming down the stairs behind me. And it just put like a chill up my spine. And I go, Debbie, do you hear that? And she goes, yeah. And then at that same time, actually before we came down the stairs, we heard a toilet flushing downstairs, and it was flushing by itself because nobody else was in that house. We were the only two in that side of the house, and the toilet flushed by itself. One
of the 18 bathrooms in that house.
Yeah, there's 18 bathrooms in this place. That's how big it is. And there was another time where I was coming down from the second floor, and I got like really dizzy and nauseous. Like I felt like I was going to pass out. And what happened was either I walked into something or something walked through me. And I had to stop. And Debbie's like, come on, keep going and get away from here. You'll feel better. And I felt like I was going to get sick. And good thing there was one of those bathrooms right by the stairwell there. But, you know, the more I got away from that area, I started feeling better. So there was definitely something in that stairwell that really affected me. And yeah, it was crazy. That place, that was another place that's amazing. I mean, every time we went there, we always either had an experience and something, you know, would happen. We got the best EVPs from there and the best pictures and evidence from that place. Yeah. So I see it's 1:56. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys know our events that we have coming up. We are going to be doing the World's Largest Ghost Hunt next Saturday at the Faint and Go Island Inn. It's going to be live via Facebook, so you guys can watch it. There will be a link that will be set up for you to watch. If you can't get on that, just go on our Facebook page. We're going to be October 2nd. We're going to be doing investigative tours at the Phelps Museum. There'll be 3 different tours that night, one starting at 7, one at 8, and one at 9. It's $20 per person. All the proceeds go back to the Phelps Museum. And also we have another investigation that is open to the public that's going to be coming up. We haven't put it out yet on our Facebook page. It's going to be at the YWCA. It'll be 10 people only, $15 per person. All the proceeds goes back to the YWCA. And I guess that's it as far as what's coming up, you know, for that. But always keep your notifications on because we always have something going on. Things pop up, you know, pop-up investigations. We're going to start doing a live feed once a month or a couple times a month just to fill you guys in on what we're doing, have a question and answer period.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Gina, there is a question over here in the chat.
Yeah.
It's Lisa, and Lisa wants to know if we have ever gone to the Sleepy Hollow area.
No, but I would love to.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be.
That's one of our places on our list to go. We have a long list. So, any other questions before we go?
That's the only one I see. So.
Yeah, that looks like it's it.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming on and watching and following us. Keep your notifications on. You can go on our Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. We have a YouTube page or channel, and we have a website. And just, you know, check us out. We're always going live on most of our notifications, our investigations, sorry. Like I said, keep your notifications on, and we want to thank you all for coming, and we'll see you guys again soon.
Yep.
Bye.